We can also do some other stuff. For example, we can use what's called the having clause. What the having clause does is it says that we are doing the same thing here. Select class average score from enrolls in, group by class. I'm looking at number 4 here. And to this we add another clause, says having count score greater than 1. So count is another function we can apply to our the sum. You can add them up, average, count, the many possibilities. But here what we can do is we could say count the number of elements in the number of students in the class. So we are only interested in finding the average score for classes that have more than one student, for example, right? So in this case, so let's take a look at that, and we'll get rid of the order by. We don't group by class, and say having count whatever, doesn't matter, score or count class, sorry, greater than 1. And I run this, and we only get C1. If I do class equals 1, then I will get C2 and C3. So that's another convenient thing to do with this. So group by is a very powerful command, and you'll probably use a lot of it, because typically when you're querying stuff, you want to group them and by some kind of categorical data and get the information from there. You can also do simple things like renaming columns. So for example, in our this over here, we have a class and an average score. But I may not want to, when I'm presenting this table to someone, I'm giving a result, I may not want to put it like this. I might want to say something as more descriptive. So I could say, go as, oops, and call it average, and run this. And now the column name gets changed. So it's kind of a convenient way, especially for reporting, that is useful to do. Then I could also save the data in a temporary table. For example, if I'm running this query here and I don't have this clause in the end, the having clause. So now I have this thing here. I run this, I'm getting this table. I might want to do some more research on this table. For example, I get this table, and then I might want to look for classes that are high average classes versus low average classes, or do some other querying stuff on it. So what I can do then is I can use this command here that says create temporary table to create a table that is temporary. And what temporary means is now is that it has a short-term existence that I can then use for some further analysis, and then we drop it. We don't want to store it in our database. That's the idea of a temporary table. So here what I'm saying is create this temporary table called averages. All right, the table is called averages, and what it does is it does our average score as average from class, and average score as average from enrolls in, group by class, all that kind of stuff. So I can just go back here and save this in my thing by adding this in the front. Create temporary table averages, and run this. Now got that, and then I can say select star from averages, just run that, and it tells me what the data over there is. So now I have a table that I can then use for further analysis. So I could, for example, select star from averages, where average is less than 90. So these are, let's say, our problem classes, right? So I can go here and run that, and I get just these two tables, or something like that. You can you could do more averages or counts or sums or whatever, right? So that's the thing with that. And we can, of course, complicate this as much as we like. So for example, here I take the same query that I have, and I can order them by count, or order them by class name or whatever, right? So this is exactly the same as that. So now here what I'm doing is I'm saying select the class, the average score as average, get the count of the number of students in the class as count from enrolls in, group by class, order by count, all that stuff. So let's go and do that here. Let's create temporary table, and we call that summary. Select class, comma average score as average, comma count score as count from enrolls in, and group by class, and order by count, and we'll do it in descending order. And here I'm just going to select star from summary. Let's take a look at this. So here now what I get is I get 3 columns, because that's what I've said over here. Look at the column called class, a column called average, and a column called count. And note that I'm using this count as my order by clause over here. So I've renamed the count score as count, and I can use that term over here, count, in this, and I'm saying, hey, give me all the 3 columns and order them in descending order by the number of students. So it says C1 has 3 students, C2 has 1 student, and C3 has 1 student, and these are the average scores over there. Okay, that's the idea there. So that's the basics of the select command. You might want to practice a few queries on your own, and then we're going to come back, and in our next video we're going to look at how we can work across multiple tables and essentially use the join command, because typically when you're working with a database you have many tables, so you want to be able to get data not just from one table but across multiple tables.